to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Dinah. I- And Mr. and Mrs. You're free to leave. No tienen que quedarse aquí toda la reunión si quieren. Está bien. Gracias. And let's see. Okay, so agenda changes. Are there any proposed agenda changes?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull from the consent calendar or have a very quick statement about item 2.5, which is the authorization to renew partnerships with industry at an amount above the contract amount.
Okay, so do we have to do a motion on that?
And I'd like to have that very brief point or discussion around that item as part of the budget discussion later on, rather than put at the end out of context.
That sounds good. Do we make a motion of that then?
We do need a motion.
Is there a motion to move item 2.5?
That's my motion.
I'm sorry. Okay.
And there was some discussion about item 5.1. I don't know if that is still.
I'm sorry. I was going to wait. I was waiting.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a second?
Oh, I'll second.
Okay. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
And I'd like to make a motion to take item 5.1 and put it before the consent calendar. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Great. And then this is the time of the evening where we give reports on assignments and committees. Councilmember Patton, would you like to start?
I had the chance to go to the Global Wellness event Saturday at Pure South. Seemed like it was a big hit. A lot of local vendors, workshops there, and I look forward to next year's.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Bragg?
Thank you. As usual, I've been pretty busy. I'm going to try and weed through this for the essence of time and not tell you everything I've been to, but it's been a lot. But the first one that I do want to comment on was that the mayor and I did attend the 65th commencement ceremonies at Mar Vista High School, and 383 students graduated. 31 of them were CIF grads. There were $2.2 million awarded in scholarships. And one student logged in 799 hours of community service, which is phenomenal. So we enjoyed ourselves. It was just a great graduation ceremony. On the 5th of June, I was at the Transportation Committee. I am the MTS representative for the Transportation Committee. They did approve or recommend to the full board that they would adopt the Uptown Bikeways project. This is a $40 million bicycle project. And there was a lot of discussion about it, about bicycle uses and rearranging lanes of traffic for bicycle users. But it finally did pass, and I'm sure Councilmember Patton will at some point report back on that project. I did attend the Friends of the Library book sale, and I just wanted to let my colleagues know that I did talk to the executive board of the Friends of the Library, and they are in total support of the Friends of the Library bookstore being named for Frida Elliott Adams, and we can anticipate a letter from them in that regard. On the 11th, I am the chairperson of the Accessibilities Committee for MTS. We did hear two projects. One was, and I had asked for all of the ADA components to be pulled out of the Mid-Coast project so that the disabled community could weigh in on those components, and just so that the community at large knows the issues that were discussed were Braille signage, warning pavers, companion seating, directional bar mats, and ADA ramps. So that Mid-Coast project is in the works. It's a long way off. But especially for veterans in the South Bay, you'll be able to get on the trolley and ride all the way to the VA hospital without changing seats. And when you're disabled, that is huge. We also did, we had an update on the senior disabled pass that has caused a lot of confusion in the community. And what was presented to us is, and what MTS is putting out to the public at large, is the requirements that you have to have in your possession if you have a senior pass or a disabled pass, because that's where a lot of the problem was coming from. People didn't know what they needed to have. And then on last Saturday, I attended the closing ceremonies for IB Little League, and the mayor and I had gone to the opening ceremonies, and to go to the closing ceremonies and see how these kids have grown and how they really did embrace the courage, the commitment, and loyalty, which is their motto. It was really impressive. So to all the families that support Little League, thank you for being there, because without the aunts and uncles and grandmas and grandpas, that community wouldn't be what it is, and it really is a family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Spriggs?
About 3 weeks ago, I attended a major conference in San Diego on the question of how cities, coastal cities, are adapting to sea level rise. It's a sea level rise adaptation conference. Mr. Nakagawa and our planning staff was at that meeting also. And obviously this is important to Imperial Beach because we're surrounded on 3 sides by water that's rises and falls with the tides, tidal areas. And so this is an issue that I'm paying very close attention to, as well as city staff, Mr. Nakagawa. One of the interesting things to come out of that is that the Coastal Commission is funding about 26 or 27 grants to different communities, and the Coastal Conservancy, a nonprofit organization, is funding another 16 or 18 grants to coastal communities, all looking at how they can adapt to this inevitable trend in sea level. And we're one of those grant recipients. So one of the points I tried to make at that conference was there needs to be more collaboration supported by the granting entities to get the best kind of cross fertilization and communication about best practices and approaches, so we all 40 of us aren't reinventing the same wheel on this very important subject. So I'm hoping that that will take place, and the people who were there from one of the academic institutions that's leading the charge here at the University of Southern California are going to take up some sort of an effort to do more coordination. So we'll be hearing more about this. Our grant will be producing results, I think, in the fall, and we'll probably be having some further discussions about the options that our community faces at that point in time. I also attended a strategic planning workshop by the Metropolitan Wastewater Joint Powers Authority that was held at the Point Loma Wastewater Treatment Plant. This was a special session for new members, which I'm not. I've been on there 4 years now. And one of the, I think, key elements is that all over San Diego, water and wastewater are being looked upon as a resource in light of the drought and in light of the long-term needs of the state, in particular our part of it, for secure water sources. They're looking at integrating these water sources. So it's not all about desal, it's also about reuse. And the entire strategic plan of the Metro Wastewater Commission is being adapted to better dovetail with this question of reuse. How do we get the public on board? How do we do it in a cost-effective way? And how do we secure our water future in this part of the state of California? So I thought those were very interesting discussions, and the San Diego Pure Water Program, which is the city of San Diego's major effort in this area, is being recognized by the Environmental Protection Agency and at the federal level and state water authorities as one of the leading cutting edge efforts to, on a large scale, the whole San Diego metropolitan area, create a situation where about 20% of the water supply will be from recycled water for potable use. And so we're at the cutting edge, and all of the different smaller cities in San Diego County are involved and participating in that effort. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Spriggs. I was going to talk about the July 4th, but I see Tim O'Neill's here to talk to public comment, so I'll wait on that. Yesterday, Imperial Beach City staffer Chris Helmer, who works on water quality issues, attended a meeting with the US EPA, the Regional Water Board, and the International Boundary and Water Commission, and two Wild Coast staffers to talk at the Regional Board office in Mission Valley to talk about the specific issue of the ongoing lack of management of the diverter pipe in the Tijuana River on the side of Mexico and how that needs to be improved. These ongoing flows in the river have had a significant impact on beach closures in Imperial Beach. So there's development of a strategy to right now just to deal with and improve the management of that diverter pipe. There's a Tijuana River Valley Recovery Team tomorrow. And then tomorrow night, the International Boundary and Water Commission, Citizens Commission, the Commissioner of the International Boundary and Water Commission will actually be there. And this issue will be addressed as well. So we're moving forward on this. This is something we're not going to let these agencies off the hook for. And that's something I'm very pleased that Chris Helmer is the absolute leader on this issue. No, there's no one else that has more technical knowledge on how to solve these problems. But there's going to be a big team effort on all our parts to work with Mexico proactively to make this happen. I think they're open to that. And I think our legislators, especially the ones in Washington, are very open to identifying, receiving some feedback on what some funding priorities would be. So I'm happy about that. I'm also happy to announce that mark your calendars for Friday, July 17th and 18th for the Sun and Sea Festival. Those of us who grew up in IB remember the old school Sun and Sea Festival. And this year, I can't wait to have the Mayor's Breakfast on Friday, July 10th at Friday, July 17th at 10 a.m. at the pier. But to honor the old school tradition of the Sun and Sea Festival, I don't know if you remember this, Bobby, I have an image in my head of sitting out and watching all the swimmers swim around the pier. The pier swim was an annual event, and so to honor that, 9 o'clock on Friday, July 17th, thanks to our IB lifeguards who are all here tonight, we're going to have the Mayor's first annual Imperial Beach Pier Swim and Paddle. So we'll be inviting all experienced ocean swimmers and paddlers to come join me and swim around the pier, surf permitting, surf and weather permitting, and safety permitting. And so that'll be a free event. There'll be T-shirts for sale, and then all those T-shirts, the proceeds will benefit the Imperial Beach Lifeguard Association. So I'm really glad to have the lifeguards here tonight. I want to thank them for helping organize that. So that should be a lot of fun. We're going to make it a super fun beach event. So everybody bring their boards, everybody bring their beach shorts, and we're going to have a really nice time on Friday, July 17th as well. I've had an amazing time all that whole weekend. So anyway, with that, we have a special proclamation. It's my pleasure to proclaim this Tom Clark Day in honor of his retirement. And I'm going to read the proclamation, and I think, Andy, maybe you have a few words to say as well, right? And I just want to say that I've known Chief Clark since the moment, I think really the moment you came on board when I was helping to organize the Dempsey Holder surf contest. And what immediately I know is that Chief Clark did was, we had some issues with what side of the pier was going to be on. And in the past, it was always kind of an issue with the permit. And Chief Clark, we did the whole bro network and IB. Dave Parra met you and said, Chief Clark's awesome, he's on it. And we immediately, I talked to you, and like within 5 minutes, you said, no problem. Whatever side of the pier you want the contest on, we'll work with you. And I know that the entire surf community and really appreciated it. And since then, it's just become much easier to do events in Imperial Beach. I think under your leadership, you have really paved the way just to make it much more simpler to do things, especially with the complexities of the Sun and Sea Festival. And I know I served with you on the Sheriff's Advisory Committee, and I was just really, really impressed with your breadth of knowledge. And more importantly, we've all seen the changes in our fire department and lifeguard department and the improvements since you've been here, and we really appreciate that. So, whereas Chief Tom Clark has honorably and steadfastly served Imperial Beach for 5 years, and whereas Chief Tom Clark has managed all public safety functions, including fire and emergency services, sheriff's law enforcement, animal control, lifeguards, and emergency preparedness, and Chief Tom Clark has modernized the fire department with new equipment such as a new command vehicle, squad vehicle, and a fire engine with all this apparatus. And whereas Chief Tom Clark has led efforts to reduce negative impacts of alcohol through the Alcohol Task Force and the Responsible Retailers Ordinance. And whereas Chief Tom Clark was a valued member of the city's labor negotiation team. And whereas Chief Tom Clark played a key role in restoring two of Imperial Beach's major events, the 4th of July fireworks and the Sun and Sea Festival, and also you brought the car show to town. Thank you very much for that. And whereas Chief Tom Clark worked closely with the Sheriff's Department to successfully reduce crimes in Imperial Beach, and whereas Chief Tom Clark negotiated long-term operational agreements with the San Diego Port Authority, the City of Chula Vista for Animal Control, and the Sheriff's Department, and whereas Chief Tom Clark established strong relationships with merchants and citizens of Imperial Beach, and whereas Chief Tom Clark made profound contributions to the city's management by expressing his views on a wide range of topics well beyond public safety, and whereas Chief Tom Clark leaves a legacy of strong ethics, leadership, and sound management. So I be it resolved that we thank him for his major contributions to the city, wishing him all the best in his future endeavors, thanking him for his extensive lifetime of public service. Thank you very much for that. And proclaims June 17th, 2015 as Tom Clark Day throughout the city. So if you could come up here.
Really quickly, I want to tell you, 5 years ago it went by awful fast. It's been a great run. Had a lot of fun tonight. I hate these kinds of events. It's about the men and women that serve in public safety. Our law enforcement agencies, our lifeguards, our fire department, they are all great people. We are on the right trajectory, not only as a city, but also as public safety. Thank you very much.
Hey, Chief, don't get too far away here, because we've got to, you know, it's kind of interesting. I wanted to share a few things that some of you may not know about Chief Clark. He has some real passions. One of the things, he really loves basketball. He really dreams of being a basketball player someday, and so he spends a lot of time down at the basketball court down at Port Plaza, or at Dunes Park. Just really spends a lot of time down there and loves shooting hoops. But there's a lot of fun things about Chief Clark, and we really have appreciated his leadership here, and I think that he's brought a lot to the community, and really, as the mayor mentioned, in more areas than just public safety. He's always willing to help out any of the departments, has always been very interested in bringing events, making sure that they're successful and whatnot. And so I asked Chief Clark what he wanted when he retired, and the first thing he says, I don't want to retire. But, you know, he loves what he does, and this has been a very hard transition for the chief. But he asked me for one thing, and it's something we've never done before, but I like a lot of things, it might be a tradition we start that Tom brings to us. But he asked me for a certificate of appointment. I'm not even sure what that was until he kind of talked to me and he showed me some examples. And so I just wanted to present this to him, and it says Certificate of Appointment, State of California, County of San Diego, City of Imperial Beach. This certifies that on June 28, 2010, in the City of Imperial Beach, County of San Diego, State of California, under the provisions of the city charter, Thomas R. Clark was duly appointed by City Manager Gary R. Brown to the position of Public Safety Director, Fire Chief of the Imperial Beach Fire and Rescue Department. And so Gary wanted to be here tonight. He was certainly a big part of that for the chief. And as I was putting this together, all of a sudden it dawned on me why this was so important to the chief, and he and I have shared that behind the scenes. But Gary wishes he could be here tonight, but I'm honored to be able to give this to you, and really appreciate all you've done for me and for all the residents of the city of Imperial Beach.
No, Laura, you wanted to.
All right.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Bragg.
I just wanted to make a quick comment, Chief, to thank you for all that you've done for Imperial Beach, and to your wife, Marianne, who has lent her husband to us. We give him back. He's a little shop worn now, but but thank you, and thank you, Marianne, for being such a supporter of Imperial Beach as well. Thank you.
Just finally, having worked as a lifeguard in the old days, I know Councilmember Pat and I started. It was a very different experience, very unprofessional. As mayor, I'm really proud to have work with sheriffs who are so amazingly professional, our fire department, our lifeguard department, and all the other departments who just always have the highest aspirations for really making safeguarding the public. So thanks to you for helping set the bar even higher. I think that's important. And thank you for your lifetime of public service. This concept of public service is something that all of you in these professions take very seriously, and we thank you for that. So anyway, thank you for your service.
Mayor, I had one other item. Just for the public, we were given a number of vouchers, I think quite a number of vouchers for the San Diego County Fair. It allows you to have admission for $4 rather than $12. They're available to the public. So if you would like one of those, feel free to stop by the office tomorrow, and I think we have any number of them. Oh, Ed has them right here. And
no, throw them on the floor and you're gonna fight over them.
That's right. So if you're interested in attending the fair, it runs now through July 5th. These are a real good deal, and so we have several of them, and we thank the fair for providing them to our residents.
Councilmember Patton, you had one more announcement you wanted to make. Is that right?
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with King Park. So the Imperial Beach Women's Club, which I'm not a member, though I've tried to become a member, is having a Splish Splash IB Bash Saturday, June 20th, right at 1075 8th Street in Imperial Beach, and it's $20 this Saturday. Try to make it.
Great. Thank you very much. And now, any other communications from city staff? No, sir. Great. With that, we move on to the public comment period. Just remember again that we welcome public comment, but because of the Brown Act, we can't respond to items not listed on the agenda, so we care about what you're saying, but we just can't answer your questions and respond. But issues requiring a response will be referred to the city manager, and we are very interested in your public comment. And remember that you can feel free to communicate directly with our city council members and me via email and written letters, faxes, and you can always request a meeting as well. So that's something just to make sure you're not always just have to come to the city council meeting to get your point across. With that, I have and remember when you come up to please sit down at the chair so you can speak into the microphone, address the council, and give us your name and address, please. Thank you. Mr. Kevin Melton. And you have 3 minutes.
Mayor, City Council, residents, staff. I'm Kevin Melton. I'm your State Assembly candidate here in the area. Just want to thank everyone for my 2014 run for State Assembly. We did quite well. Had quite a bit of support here out of Imperial Beach. I am back for 2016. I just wanted to make that announcement. What I generally like to come to the city council meetings for and talk to the residents is to kind of give them their boundaries, because most of them, I'm sure most of you know the State Assembly boundaries here, but I like to give those boundaries to the residents so they know about the different communities that are involved in their area for State Assembly. It starts here in Imperial Beach, then it goes to Coronado, downtown, North Park, Hillcrest, Mission Hills, Bankers Hill, Point Loma, Mission Beach, Pacific Beach, La Jolla, Del Mar, and Solana Beach. So those are your boundaries of your State Assembly district. Each one of these communities has vast differences in their needs. So what you may not be getting down here, they may be getting in another area, and I just wanted to explain to you, why different things are given in different areas. I myself, I'm a downtown resident. I won't give my address. I apologize for that because just too many things happen when I tell where I live. So, but I am a downtown resident. I used to live in Point Loma before I moved downtown 4 years ago. So I was in Point Loma OB. So, and I grew up in Rancho Palos Verdes, and I lived in Manhattan Beach for 13 years after that. So I am very aware of a lot of the coastal needs. Been there all my life. So just wanted to introduce myself and thank you for your support last time. And we're looking forward to seeing you quite a bit. And I do come to IB, unlike everybody else. So
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have Brian Barretto.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Brian Barretto, California American Water, 1025 Palm Avenue in Imperial Beach. I'm here to just provide you with a brief update on the drought. I believe my colleague Kevin Tilden was here at your meeting last month. Since then, we have updated our water contingency plan with the Public Utilities Commission. It was approved on June 1st. With that, we are now in stage 2 of our water plan. It allows for the first phase of enforcement. With that comes a watering schedule that we have put into place. Just to remind everybody, odd addresses are allowed to water on Sunday and Thursday, even addresses on Saturday and Wednesday, apartment, businesses, condos, Mondays and Fridays, and watering is permitted before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. We've engaged in a very extensive outreach program to our customers, direct mail pieces, bill inserts, bill text messages, and we also have the ability to send out emails, which we have sent out to all of the customers that we have captured their email address, those customers that pay their bills online. I do have some good news. You recall that our San Diego Water District water percentage is 8%. We have to reduce our water usage by 8% as mandated by the governor and the board. The latest numbers of this week in June to date, we started tracking that on June 1st per the governor. We are down 28% in our water production, which is great. However, we are at the beginning of the summer. The June gloom has gone away. So I would encourage all of our customers to continue their good work, continue to heed our message, and also please reach out to us should they have any questions about rebates, conservation, messaging, any questions that they have. We're here pretty much 24 hours, 7 days a week. The best place to go is our website, which is californiaamwater.com. There's a drought tab right in the center. Big and prominent. That's where the most up-to-date information is. Right next to that tab, there's a tab that says conservation and rebate programs. All of the information is there about the free rebates and programs that our customers can participate in. And then our local number is 619-522-6407. Again, that's 619-522-6407. And I would encourage anybody that has any questions to please reach out to us. We're here to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barretto. Now we have Mr. Tim O'Neill.
Tim O'Neill, 655 Seacoast Drive. Here today to talk fireworks. But first, I want to talk about Chief Clark real quick. Last year, we did what many fireworks producers would say is impossible. We organized a fireworks event in a month and a half when they suggest you do it in 5 to 6 months. Without Chief Clark's leadership on that, navigating the permit process, it would have never happened. So I just want to take a moment to personally thank him. He was amazing. Now this year, let's talk this year. I'm not going to burden you with some of the highs and lows we've had. 9,000 is the number. In 2 weeks, we need $9,000. We've had absolute generosity from 2 different on our side, other than the port who gave their 25,000, which was amazing. So on our side, the community side, in our efforts to raise 25,000, we had 2 entities who have really stepped up. One is the Dugan family, who, for people that don't know, at one point they were one of the largest property owners in Imperial Beach. Well, they're dissolving their trust and packing up shop. So right now, it looks like they'll be giving close to $7,500. And then I'm excited to announce that IB's newest neighbor, the Imperial Beach Resort, has agreed to a matching funds campaign. So that's where the $9,000 comes in. They will match up to $9,000. The good thing is we have not tapped into any of our local resources at all. We haven't bothered anybody like we did last year. So everybody can expect in the next 2 weeks to be absolutely inundated with a bunch of emails, Facebook posts. You're going to get sick of seeing Bring Back the Boom. So, and I'm excited because, like I said, we haven't tapped into the locals at all. $9,000, easy number to hit. And I'm just looking forward to having a bunch of fun and sleepless nights. So.
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Neill. We really appreciate all your hard work and that of Candy as well. Thank you. Okay, now we have move on to the other presentations part of the evening, additional presentations. We have item 1.1, and that's a proclamation and recognition of Marcia Dosey Morrison's 4 decades of service to the children of Imperial Beach. And Councilmember Lori Bragg will present that.
I'll sit down and read your proclamation. As you all know, I'm a believer in proclamations. It's kind of the ending point for so many people. So to just gloss over them, I don't think does the person justice. So this is recognition of Marcia. Correct pronunciation of your last name? Dosey Morrison. That's a mouthful. Listen to this, you guys. 4 decades of service to the children of Imperial Beach. Whereas Marcia has taught more than 41.5 years, becoming the highest seniority employee in the South Bay Union School District. Beginning at Harborview Elementary as a long-term substitute, Berry Elementary School, and finally, the majority of her tenure at Oneonta Elementary. And whereas Marcia was the South Bay Union School District Teacher of the Year and their representative for the San Diego County Teacher of the Year in 1995, and whereas Marcia, during her career, has educated and influenced over 1,100 students in her classroom and many more through special focus programs on the campus with a stimulation for learning, creativity, imagination, and exploration, where she helps her students learn to be human, responsible people and citizens in their school community. And whereas Marcia, for decades, developed new teachers as a mentor teacher, a resource, a coach, providing an observation classroom for teachers to see how it's done, and by conducting in-service staff training as district coordinator of the 2-year new teacher development program. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Lori Bragg, council member of the City of Imperial Beach, along with my colleagues, recognize Marcia and honor her for 4 decades as an educator for many generations of students from the City of Imperial Beach. Dated June 17, 2015.
Thank you very much for your service. I know all of us here value public education. Thank you. And I know we had missed a public comment. Is that right, Mr. Kravitz? Just to clarify, you have public comments to make, but also you want to speak at item 5.5. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Thank you. Just make sure. Sorry about.
For those of you who don't know me, my name's Ed Kravitz. I publish the local paper, IB Local News. A lot of people are coming to us with a lot of information. I don't know if you get the same information I get, but I've had a couple people contact me about an upcoming federal FAA hearing that has to do with the flight paths over the San Diego region, and there may be some modifications or changes happening, and I just want to make sure that the city is aware of that, because If there are going to be changes in the patterns that are going to increase the amount of overflights in IB, you should definitely be there and be on record about it. We have one of the highest levels of asthma, childhood asthma, in Imperial Beach, and I just think it's worth looking into. Something that's dear to my heart, and I still hear a lot about it, and I've written about it in the paper, is in regards to our tsunami evacuation routes and development projects that have impacted that and restricted those flows. The grand jury 9 years ago had some recommendations. Not all of those have been implemented. And since we received our tsunami ready status from NOAA, a number of development projects have been done here that constrict the 4 outgoing lanes on both Imperial Beach and Ivy Boulevard. And the reason why I put the relinquishment item on there is because there's some issues related to the Palm Avenue Master Plan and the relinquishment that will further restrict the flow. If there ever is a day where there's an evacuation here, with some of the proposals that are being made right now, getting out of the beach area will be about like trying to get out of the Farm Fresh parking lot at 5 o'clock. If they're evacuating Coronado and the merge is gone in front of where the Miracle Shopping Center is, it's going to be even harder to get out of here. Mr. Hall said he'd just probably run if that ever comes because he knows it's going to be a traffic jam. It's something we don't want ever happen. But the reason for having the escape routes set up is if there ever is an emergency, we have it. But we've choked it down in a number of places to 2 lanes from 4, and we've literally cut half of the volume that we can get out of here by these changes. And I know it's tempting to take the Sandag grant money to change these streets, but if it's making it worse or making it more dangerous, then maybe it needs to be reevaluated. So anyway, that's pretty much all I want to say. I want to thank the community for their support. The paper seems to be getting its legs now, and we appreciate your input. If you have something that you want in the paper, call us, write us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kravitz. Okay, with that, we move on to report 5.1, and that's the proposed BSA Eagle Project presentation by Boy Scout Stephen Ice. Is that right, Stephen Ice? Ice. Okay, great. And please, Mr. Ice, if you could sit down and give your presentation.
Mayor, Council, I'd like to preface his presentation for just a second. Oh, this thing's turned off. I need help. Turn it off. Stephen is a member of Boy Scout Troop 53. He's a Life Scout and he's working on his Eagle project, and he has a proposal for council for that project. If council would chooses to approve it, he'll come back with the final design and proceed it. What I wanted to show first is to give you a perspective of where it's at. This is the Civic Center facing east between the fire station and the sheriff's station. You see the sheriff's truck there, and in that area is a dirt plot, a gas line, and a asphalt curb and gutter. His project would convert that into what you see here, which is on the other side of the sheriff's station, which was done, I think, last fall for the city. So you'll see the pavers and a new curb and gutter would be part of this project. And I'm going to turn it over to Stephen from this point.
Good evening. My name is Stephen Ice. I'm a scout at Troop 53, and I'm a Life Scout. I'm 15 years old.
I'll get to it. There you go.
My project I'm planning to do will enhance and beautify the city center complex. So basically, part of my project's gonna be cut off in blacktop because the area of my project is run over often by a car, by the sergeant's car. So I'll be digging 2 to 6 inches down, set up a weed barrier, fill in 2 inches of decomposed granite over that, compress that with a vibrator slash tamper, then placing pavers over the sand. Once the pavers are in, I will fill in the edges and cracks with sand. Then I'll have the sand compressed with a vibrator slash tamper. A 4x4 will be set up around the gas meter so servicemen will be able to have access to the area and and the area will be filled with rocks similar to the ones out in the front of the building. The materials I need are 4x4x2 pavers, sand, it's also known as joint sand, a weed barrier, a 4x4, rocks, and I didn't put this on, but decomposed granite. My supplies are a first aid kit, goggles and gloves, wheelbarrows, trash bags, shovels and rakes, a vibrator slash tamper, and a masonry saw. The estimated cost is for decomposed granite, I need 2 yards of it, so it's going to be around $72. I need 4 50-pound bags of joint sand, and they're $4 each, so it's $16. And 2 square yards of leveling sand, which is going to be $118. And 1,300 Holland pavers that are 4x4x2. They're 45 cents each, and it's going to be $585, including extra. 4x50 Landmaster landscape fabric, which is the weed barrier, is $26.97, and 2 bags of rocks is $23.94, and the total, including all like extras, is $841. Here are some pictures of my project. And thank you for having me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. Are there any questions? Oh, no. Stephen, yes, there might be some questions or comments from a Councilmember Patton.
Thanks for coming up here and speaking. I know it's tough to get in front of this microphone and speak and remember everything you have to say, but you did a great job. I'm just curious, are we taking the sergeant's parking spot now?
No.
No?
We're cutting off part of it so they have more room to pull out.
Does he know that? No.
I'm not sure.
Okay, Lieutenant. Okay, I'm just curious. Okay, thanks for this great project. I've always wondered about that dirt spot. What can we do with it? So I'm glad you figured out something good. Thank you.
Any other comments? Stephen, thank you so much. As a former Boy Scout, I want to thank you for it's a great project, and more importantly, a very professionally presented project. This is really great experience for your future, any future career, learning how to put together a project and a budget, and really thinking about how to work with also your team members in this project. So thank you very much. And with that, I would like to entertain a motion to authorize the city manager to sign the Eagle project plan for Stephen Ice to continue the project development, and construction is approved by city council and city staff. All right, please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Congratulations, Stephen. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Levine. Appreciate it. And Mr. Levine, thank you for all the work you do with our Boy Scouts. We really appreciate it. Now we move on to the consent calendar. And I would like to entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items number 2.1 through 2.4 and 2.6 through 2.9.
So moved.
Great. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Great. Now we move on to the ordinances portion of the evening. And this will be the introduction, first reading and public hearing, item number 3.1. Public hearing to consider granting a water franchise renewal to California American Water Company for a period of 25 years, and introduction of ordinance number 2015-1152. Okay. I declare the public hearing open, and City Manager Hall will give the report.
Mayor and Council, tonight we come before you to introduce an ordinance that would extend the current franchise agreement with California American Water to provide services to the residents of Imperial Beach. What the franchise agreement allows is for Cal American to operate and maintain their water system within the right-of-way that is owned by the city of Imperial Beach. In accordance with state statute, we are able to garner 2% of their gross revenues for the privilege of them being able to operate within our right-of-way. The current 25-year agreement that we have had with Cal American Water is expiring, and we are just simply asking you to introduce an ordinance that would now extend that for another 25-year period.
Thank you, City Manager Andy Hall. And are there any comments? Oh, wait, first, are there any public testimony?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Any comments from the council? Councilmember Spriggs?
Mr. Hall, you mentioned the 2%, which is a state law, public utility code authorization for a franchise fee. Is there, it's a not to exceed. Are there other cities that assess a lower percentage, and is there any reason why we should assess a lower percentage?
I don't know of any cities that assess a lower one. Most of them just follow the statute. There are some charter cities that I think can actually charge more, but we are a general rule city, so we are subject to that statute. If you charged less, I think the impact would be that the Cal American water bills may slightly go down for our residents, but the costs in the general fund that we use to maintain our right-of-way would increase, and so I think it would essentially be a wash. And so we implement the 2% and we use it for that purpose.
Great. Any additional discussion? Okay. Oh, Councilmember Bragg?
I just wanted to comment that California American Water has been a great partner to the city of Imperial Beach, has been extremely responsive to our needs. I had attended a workshop that they put on in the community few weeks ago, which was very well attended by the community, and Mr. Barreto was there along with his team, and you can always tell what a community doesn't know by the questions that they asked. And during the question and answer period, which was quite lively, residents were given their answers right on the spot, which Mr. Barreto, I really appreciate. You know, it wasn't a situation where a community member was told, we'll get back to you. So I felt that our residents walked away armed with knowledge. I really do appreciate you speaking tonight under public comment. I would like to invite you back at another time and have you on our agenda again. But I am totally in support of this, of extending this. And again, you've just been a wonderful partner over the years. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. So if we could have the first reading of ordinance number 2015-1152 by title only.
Ordinance number 2015-1152, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Imperial Beach, California, granting a franchise renewal to California American Water Company.
Good. Without dissension of the City Council, I'm closing the public hearing. And I would like to call for a motion to introduce ordinance number 2015-1152 by title only, waive the full reading, and set the matter for its second reading and adoption of the next regular scheduled City Council meeting. Good. Thank you. Please vote.
Did we have a second on that motion? Okay. Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Good. Thank you. Now we move on to the public hearings portion of the evening. We have items number 4.1 and 5.2 are regarding the library. So I'd like to make sure the council approves having the staff present those two items together, and then we would actually vote on them separately. Is there consensus on that? Good. Okay, great. Thank you. Then I declare the public hearing open for items 4.1 and 5.2. Senior Planner Fultz will give the report. And this is, I'm going to read this first. County of San Diego, consideration of administrative coastal permit, ACP 1412, design review case, DRC 1413, site plan review, SPR 1414, and mitigative negative declaration for the proposed new public library at 810 Imperial Beach Boulevard. And then item 5.2, consider adoption of resolution number 2015-7598 that would approve the sublease between the Boys and Girls Club and the County of San Diego for temporary library facilities. And Senior Planner Fultz.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Staff's recommending that the City Council adopt the resolution to approve the demolition of the existing library and community room, and then for the construction of a new library that would include a new community room as well. The rationale is that the project would benefit the City of Imperial Beach by providing a new library, new services, programs, computers, etc. And also the Design Review Board reviewed the project and recommended approval with a vote of 3-0. There was a condition of approval that they requested, and I'll get into that in just a second. The project's located in the public facility zone, just north of City Hall. And this is the project site as it sits today. The proposed library would go a little bit beyond the property line here, and it would demolish the existing community room, Marina Vista Center, the southern portion of it. And within the new library, we would have a new community room. And this is the existing site and the Marina Vista Center. And this is a site plan for the proposed project. The library would be about 14,000 square feet, which would include the about a 2,000 square foot community room, a little bit more than 2,000 square feet. It would be about 30.5 feet in height, but single story. 38 parking spaces are proposed. There'd be 16 new spaces on 8th Street, and then 22 parking spaces for overflow within the adjacent St. James Lutheran Church just to the east. With those new parking spaces, as you can see on the site plan, there's a variety of disabled parking stalls that would be proposed. That was one of the key components when we were initially looking at the project to make sure that the seniors would have access to that. There's also 25 proposed bicycle parking spaces, which was another component that the city was looking for. Benches that would be proposed on this boardwalk area that would have access from 8th Street all the way through the park so that it would be accessible from either side you come from. The existing programs would continue to operate both during and after construction. The county would be operating the programming of these programs, but there's going to be an agreement that the city and the county would go into to ensure that all the existing programs would remain and be able to continue to operate as they've been doing so. With the project, as we noted earlier, the building's going further north, so a boundary adjustment is going to be required in the future that would adjust the property line just south of the existing building here where the Marina Vista Center currently sits, and would it also go a little bit south to include this Poets Patio, which is an outdoor component that would connect to the community center. During construction of the new library, a temporary library facility would be required, and that goes into the item 5.2. The city owns land at 847 Encina, where the Boys and Girls Club currently is located. The county is going to construct a temporary facility within that center, and they'd have an 18-month lease. For any subleases that the Boys and Girls Club enters into, we would have to approve. The city would have to approve. So that's item 5.2. The county and the Boys and Girls Club have entered into an agreement. There's various improvements that the county would provide, ADA improvements, Americans with Disability Act improvements, with ramps and some bathroom improvements, plumbing, obviously new walls, new carpet, painting, etc. All those improvements would stay after the county library is reopened, so the Boys and Girls Club would benefit in that respect. So 5.2 is to approve the sublease that the county and the Boys and Girls Club have entered into. This is a floor plan for the project. On the left-hand side, you can see various interior displays that they provide, trying to keep the beach feel. And on the right-hand side, it may be hard to see on this image, but there's a variety of rooms. This is the entrance that would access off of 8th Street and also the park. And it would enter into a community room, which would lead to an outdoor patio, and then a variety of rooms throughout. And these are some renderings for the project site, or for the project. A variety of colors, a wave roof, and on the right-hand corner is where the entrance is located off of 8th Street. You see the boardwalk and the entrance into the building. The architects noted that there's no back portion of this building, that each each element or each facade has key components that are visually interesting and stimulating. So that was one of the key factors in the design. In addition to that, I noted earlier the design review board had two issues. One, when they were originally looking at the project site, they liked the design that was shown on the plan. The material that was shown during that meeting was a little bit darker for the roof. This is the roof that was shown. So the design review board asked for a lighter tone that would match the plan. So the applicants come back with that same color that's matching the plan. In addition, the design review board was concerned that they did not want the windows to be opaque, shown on the plan here. They wanted to make sure that you'd be able to look through and see the top of the roof here as a design element. So they wanted to just make sure that the tint of the shade was not too much. So again, the architects come back with a tint showing what it would really look like. So you would be able to look through it. One of the conditions was to bring back these materials to the design review board and city council. The recommendation is, if council consents with these materials, allow staff to go back to the design review board, show them, and only come back to the city council if there's a grave concern that the design review board notes. So with that, there's a variety of county staff, the supervisor, and the architect in attendance that can go into more details of the design if needed. And the options for the city council is to approve the project, or to approve the project with modifications by the council, to disapprove the project, or to continue the report to a future public hearing. And that concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Now we have public comments. We have Supervisor Greg Cox there.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. It's a pleasure to be here, particularly at this particular occasion, to hopefully gain your ultimate and final approval on a project that I know that we've been working with the city of Imperial Beach on for probably about 3.5, 4 years. And I don't think there's anybody that's going to be more enthusiastic and excited tonight by your action than your county librarian here, June Engel, who is here with, I think, some of her staff people. If you approve this, I expect to hear a lot of hooping and hollering out in the audience led by June. But this has been really a kind of a fun project. And I tell you, over the last few years, the County of San Diego really has been focusing a lot of our 33 different branch libraries, trying to figure out what we could do to upgrade them, to make them more 21st century, to provide better access, and really make them the community resources that libraries, I think, have historically been across the United States. And I think the design team that has been put together through the county's RFP process is a design build team that has had a lot of experience. Some of the folks that are part of this design team have built other libraries in the county. We've worked with, I think, all of the different partners in this over the years in different projects. We're really excited about what they put together. I know your design review committee has had a chance to review it. I think they've given its blessing, and obviously tonight we're here to hopefully get your final blessing on this project so we can begin to move forward. The time schedule is such, I think we want to hopefully be in a position to start construction before the end of this year, which means we will probably do demolition of the existing facilities sometime in October, which, interestingly enough, is the 100th anniversary of your Imperial Beach Library. So I don't know whether we'll have a grand explosion as a part of the centennial celebration, but I guarantee you the final project is going to be something that you will be very proud of. We expect to have this project completed probably in early fall of next year. And you know, when you work with the community, as we've tried to do at the County of San Diego, with the City of Imperial Beach, you really get to know the community. And this has been a labor of love on the part of a lot of people, and we have a number of county staff people that are here that are prepared to speak tonight. But you know, I want to commend the mayor, the city council, the city manager, and the staff that has been working on this project from the city of Imperial Beach. But above and beyond that, this project wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the support of the Women's Club, which has had some very legitimate concerns in regards to, you know, having the availability to continue to use the community room. And we have made every commitment we possibly can to them that their lifestyle is not going to change at all. In fact, we hope it's going to be enhanced with this new facility. If it wasn't for St. James Lutheran Church, we probably, would not be providing the parking that we should be providing for this facility. So through a very cooperative relationship with them, we're going to providing the additional 22 spaces and we'll be improving their parking facilities so that not only will it be able to be used by the public when the library is in operation, but certainly will be an enhancement to their operations when the church is having their services. And certainly we have to thank the Imperial Beach Boys and Girls Clubs for their cooperation in allowing us to use a portion of their building for the interim library, because obviously the last thing we want to do is to shut down the access that the citizens of this community depend on for the use of the library. So through their cooperation and a great partnership, because we're going to be going in, as was mentioned by staff, we're going to be doing some improvements to their facilities, putting in some ADA ramps and improving the restroom facilities and doing some other enhancements to the temporary library space. And when we vacate that, obviously all those improvements will be there to be able to inure to the benefit of the Boys and Girls Club. And I guess one of the final things that I guess I would be remiss if I didn't point out is that the very bottom of page 6 of your staff report, it says that this is being done with no financial or fiscal impact to the city. You guys have been a great partner in all of this. The county is pleased to be in a position where we can move forward with this project. We have it fully funded. In fact, just last week we approved some additional funding to do some enhancements to some of the technology equipment and to really beef up the technology aspect of this project. This project will be a net zero energy building, which means that all of the energy that will be consumed by this building will be generated on site through solar panels. The water usage will probably be comparable to the existing facility, even though we're expanding it by almost 2.5 times. And obviously the focus on the drought tolerant landscaping is something that we pay a lot of attention to in all of the buildings the county is building. It will be built to LEED Gold standards, which is something we strive to do with all of our new buildings to make sure that they're not only energy efficient, but also reusing as many of the materials as we possibly can. So we stand before you today, and I'm not sure what the order is for the other speakers from the county, but we certainly look forward to working with you to make this building a reality, and we certainly look forward to the ribbon cutting that we expect to see in the fall of next year.
Great, thank you very much. Before we get to the county, we have Nancy Dayton, who's put on a speaker spec. Nancy, would you like to speak?
Yes.
Nancy Dayton, Imperial Beach Women's Club. I need to give you my address too?
It's written down, don't worry about it.
Been around a few times, huh? I'd like to thank everyone involved in this project, and I'm going to get emotional. You have listened to what the Women's Club needs to do what we do best, which is to support this community and put money back into it. And every single one of you involved in this has bent over backwards to help us, and you don't know how much it is totally appreciated. There's been a few loaves of banana bread moved around.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You're not the only one. But it has been wonderful, and it started with Supervisor Cox saying right off the bat, oh my goodness, we'll take care of you, and he did. And thank you. All of you, thank you very, very much. Your design is absolutely gorgeous. And we have the room. I sent a memo out to the Women's Club last night, thanking them and telling them what you've done. And we can't thank you enough. And also to provide us with a facility that we can use and walk to, you know, us old ladies, over at the Boys and Girls Club while you're under construction for the new building is just wonderful. And they have been wonderful And I'd like to tell you a cute little story is that we have this nice old antique upright piano in our storage room that everybody's looked at and said, you've got to store this and move it. And I said, yeah, belongs to the women's club. Of course, we don't have anybody that can play it, but it belongs to the women's club. Well, come to find out, the Boys and Girls Club do not have a piano. So we have donated that nice little old piano to the Boys and Girls Club, and they will be moving it over to their recording studio over at the skate park. So it will be very nicely used within the community, and it won't be collecting spiders in our closet. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Nancy. And thanks to all the women of the Women's Club for all your work on this process, and additionally, all the work that you do for the residents and especially children of Imperial Beach. And now we have presentations by county staff. Was that okay? Okay, I thought that was something you talked about. Okay, great. Now we have. Thank you very much, Supervisor Cox and Nancy. We have Councilmember Patton.
The design of the
one that lists that one.
Okay.
Details. I mean details. I'm real pleased and this is a community effort, and that everybody listened to each other and for our needs. Parking spaces, parking in front of the women's club. I know I said more bike racks from 4 to 25, and that's amazing. The benches, the extra parking, just everything that we all, as a whole, staff, community, and up here, thought about to make this the best library in town. And I wrote a little note here that Imperial Beach has been more and more on the map these days with our nice restaurants. Our home prices are skyrocketing. It's hard to find a home in IB now. Cutting edge schools. And now we have this amazing library that's really going to just make us a destination, not just a name. So thank you, Supervisor Cox and County and every staff and council. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilmember Spriggs.
I'd like to echo my colleague in thanking you, Supervisor Cox, and the county staff and our wonderful librarian. We need to add a proviso to all of these agreements that she can't go anywhere. She has to stay here and oversee this wonderful new facility that's exciting, for all of us. I think the design is absolutely superb. The use of colors, the sweeping roof line, the landscaping. I think in the end, in the beginning, I had some concerns about not having access on IB Boulevard, but I think all things considered, this is a better front on IB Boulevard and safer for the kids as well to not have in and out on IB Boulevard. The interior part of it, this is really the heart of this facility that's going to be so wonderful. The children's collection part of this, which I don't know if you've got that. Yeah, there it is down in the lower right. I wish we had some sort of more schematics of what that area is going to look like, but in my imagination, it's going to be probably the most exciting part of the library. It's going to no doubt stimulate imagination. I know if June has anything to do with it, it's going to be where kids really, younger kids especially, come in and start to develop a love of reading and a love of learning and a love of exploration. And that's so exciting to me, because that's really where it all begins. And the rest of their lives will be different because of being excited to be in this new space and explore what it has to offer. And that's, I think, as public officials, the best that we can hope for is that our kids in this community have the best chance to achieve their potential as possible. and this library is going to definitely contribute to that. So that's going to be one of the legacies that I think we'll appreciate for many years to come. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Spriggs. It's no surprise to me that this is an excellent example of just great good government and excellent sort of public policy and a project. And public libraries emanate from one of our greatest Americans, Benjamin Franklin, who was really one of the originators of the ideas. And the first public library was in 1790 in Franklin, Massachusetts. And Benjamin Franklin actually donated, I think, over 116 books to that library. So to me, this is in the tradition of that. It's just a great example of a democratic, participatory-driven process in which the supervisor, Greg Cox, of the county and our city staff worked with the residents to really get their feedback and involvement in the process and listen to their concerns and then sit down and really sort of work things out. And so I really want to thank especially our librarian, June Engel, and all the county library staff. We had another public hearing last night, and it was very well attended and very eloquently, the folks who spoke at it were very, very eloquent. And more importantly, I want to thank the designers for this really thoughtful and really beautiful design. It's a really, really great design. As you can see, some of the colors are my favorite colors. I don't move much away from blue. There's something about blue that really, probably having spent most of my life in the ocean, but anyway, it's a really great design, and I think all of us here are probably going to be fighting over who's the #1 fan of the library, the new public library. But again, I want to thank the Women's Club for working it out in the great tradition of Imperial Beach, and more importantly, the Boys and Girls Club for agreeing to a new host this temporary facility. As I understand from our librarian that we won't miss a day of a public library in Imperial Beach. The project will move to the Boys and Girls Club, so we won't have any sort of overlapping period. And then more importantly, of course, St. James for agreeing to host the project. So anyway, thanks to everyone. This is a team effort, and I guess in the best tradition of good government and great public policy in Imperial in the U.S. With that, so to make sure we're clear, we're going to entertain two different motions, 4.1 and 5.2. So we'll start with 4.1, and I'm going to first close the public hearing, and I'm closing the public hearing for both items. So I'm going to say that, okay. So I'm closing the public hearing for items 4.1 and 5.2. And then, so for item 4.1, the City Council adopt resolution 2015, make a motion that City Council adopt resolution 2015-7595, approving administrative coastal permit ACP 1412, design review case DRC 1413, and site plan review SPR 1414 for the demolition of an existing library and community room and construction of a new library and community room at 810 Imperial Beach Boulevard. The community room is currently addressed at 1075 8th Street. Second. Okay. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Great. Now we'll do 5.2. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-7598, approving the sublease between the county and Boys and Girls Club to provide temporary library facilities within portions of the existing building at 847 Encina Avenue. Is there a motion? Okay. All right. Please vote. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't quite. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. No, that's, you know what, my.
For years, going way back, and you and I attended an expansion of the library. The fact that you were able to get the blessing of the Women's Club is sort of miraculous. To the design team, as my colleague mentioned, you listened, you understood, you gave us exactly what we wanted on this project. All of us do. All concepts you desperately wanted and needed. It's little Peter of your office for our that built building, but the this building. So
And apologies for, anyway, good. So please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
I didn't hear the whoops. Thank you very much, everyone. Great. Now we move on to items number 5.3. And I would like to, we have thanks again. I would like to see that if we can put 5.3 and 5.4 together, since they're about the budget. And then we'd have item 2.5 as part of that. I guess that would be the last item. Is that what you asked you'd like, or you like that before we start the budget process?
I just want to make a quick comment about it, and then we can move on.
Okay, so let's do 2.5 first, and we'll go to 5.3 and 5.4 after that, okay?
That'd be great.
So now we go on to item 2.5. Let me go back to the beginning so I can read that. That's resolution number 2015-7596, authorization to renew the partnerships with industry PWI Group Services Agreement for fiscal year 2015-2016. And Councilmember Spriggs.
Okay. This may seem like a trivial point, but it goes to a point of principle that's important to me in budgeting, and I know there are practical considerations of why it was put in here. And what is the it? It's the fact that this contract is a $35,000 contract, and we are being asked to approve a budgeting for the contract and authorization of the city manager to enter into it. This is for the Tidelands cleanup group, basically, who've done an outstanding job. And we certainly, I think, want to move ahead with this. But we're being asked to approve it at the level of $38,000, which is about 8.5, 8.6% over the contract amount. And my statement is simply that with a budget as tight on a cash flow basis as ours, we can't be trivial, or we can't be, I don't want to use the word trivial, we can't be too liberal when it comes to providing for contingencies that are not clearly required as part of the contract. If this were 10 or 100 times larger, the type of contract that we typically enter into, let's say 350,000 or 3.5 million, and we were asked to approve it at 8.6% above the contract amount, everybody would be saying why. So it's the same principle at a smaller amount that I'm trying to raise here as part of our budget consideration and budget discussion, that we have to be careful about our expenditures above and beyond what's absolutely needed to get the job done. In this case, that's the $35,000 contract amount. And I understand that there may be some contingencies that may happen in the future. I understand that, as far as the state action on the on wages. What's that called? The prevailing wage. But if that happens, fine. We don't know how much that will be. If that happens, there can be another consent item that we don't even have to take issue with that then makes an adjustment. But for us to approve an 8.6% bump in a contract without knowing when or how much that contingency is going to be violates, to me, a basic budget principle that this small community should keep in mind. That's all I have to say about it.
Great, thank you. Any additional comments?
I'm quite honestly, now I'm a little confused. Are you objecting to the increase? And perhaps Manager Hall, you would expound on that. I'm hoping that, I realize we're talking about one agenda item, but if we were to go to item 5.4 and we look at all of the resolutions that we enacted over the course of the 2014-15 year, amending the budget, if we can get away from doing that and can keep our budget as streamlined and clean as we can. So I'm a little concerned as to, are you objecting to the increase? Or
I'm objecting to the way it's presented to us for approval, where we have a contract amount and then we're being asked to approve right now a higher amount and authorize that based on a contingency that may or may not happen at an unknown and to an unknown amount. I think the budgeting process, this is not a budget process. This is a contract authorization process, and it streamlines to some extent because if there is a prevailing wage increase, the money's there to meet it. And what I'm saying is that the contingency for prevailing wage increases can be built into the budget process independently of approving each individual item. When we start approving items with that with these at a higher amount than is required for the contract before the actual contingency takes place, it just seems to me that that's providing too much authority for spending that we don't actually need to vote on at that point in time. And from the standpoint of running a tight ship, I just think that that is not the wisest practice. As I said, if this were 10 or 100 times larger, which are typical size contracts for us, there would have to be a strong justification to put in an 8.6% increase in what we're approving versus what's actually going to be expended in the contract.
Yeah, let me make sure that the council understands what they're being asked to approve. You're being asked to approve not to exceed 38,000, not being asked to approve 38,000. Right now, we know that the contract is going to be 35,000, or at least that's what we anticipate. That's what the contract is written up as. The state of California, of course, operates on a state budget that is October 1 to September 30. We operate on a municipal budget that is July 1 to June 30. We have been watching wages, whether that is the minimum wage in the state being discussed or the prevailing wage, and we anticipate that there will certainly be some increase in that. Now, again, we're not asking you to approve the expenditure of 38,000. We're asking you to expend, and we hope, we're asking you to approve the expenditure of 35,000. That's what we hope. The reality is we're asking, though, that we have approval not to exceed 38,000 should the prevailing wage be increased. I can tell you I have very little energy about this. If the council would rather approve 38 or 35,000, I have no problem. Just understand that, again, in terms of efficiency, we'd be back before you should the prevailing wage come back up and asking for a budget amendment and an amendment to the agreement. And so just, again, it's which efficiencies we want to consider. But the reality is, I got to be honest, very little emotion about this issue. If you would rather approve the 35 now, I have no problem with that.
I guess perhaps I'm not understanding the difference between approving a contract and where that fits into the budget. I would think that the public works budget as a separate matter would have contingencies in it for adjustments in the state prevailing wage that would apply to more than this contract. It would apply to whatever. That would be a contingency that they would have in their budget that we would vote on as a budget matter in terms of the entire public works budget or the entire city of Imperial Beach budget, rather than each contract having a provision for a contingency that we don't know when it will happen or how much it will be on a contract by contract basis. So that's I think where my confusion is here. And
can I maybe try to explain my logic and the contract that they proposed to us or presented to us a few weeks ago was for 35,000. Our budget has been worked on since January. And I anticipated that there would be some increase potentially in that contract, because the contract for this year is 35,000 as well. And typically they've been going up a couple, 3,000 a year, depends on who the way they pay their people is that the prevailing wage, let's say the prevailing wage is $10 an hour. And they evaluate each one of the workers on how close to being fully efficient as a person who does not have that disability was working. So if they were working at 75% of a full time, then we pay $7.50 an hour. As this person gets more adept or they change people, it can go up to $10 an hour if it was. So anyway, the budget was put together without knowing what the contract was. I was just trying to make you aware when I wrote the staff report that there was, as we budgeted, 38,000 in there, and the contract came in for 35. I was just trying to make you aware of it. I mean, as the manager said, if the council's uncomfortable with what I've done, we can. The contract is still going to sign for 35,000. That's what you're approving tonight. I was just trying to make you aware that we had that covered the way we had budgeted. So if I any mistake, I apologize.
It's not about this contract. My point is that the reason I asked this to be pulled and put into the budget discussion is because I'm trying to get at a general principle of how we handle externalities, contingencies as part of the overall budget process, and that it's not necessarily contract by contract. Now, a construction contract will have a 10% contingency because that's standard for construction contracts. This is a wages and hours type contract, just like so many other salary or wage commitments in public works or any other department. I'm not picking on public works. I'm just trying to get at how we, where we put the fat in our budget, or where we put the contingencies in our budget, and how we go about discussing that in the public arena on why we have these contingencies, etc. It just seems to me that it is inefficient to have this done on a contract by contract basis, whether it's this contract or any other contract, and that if it's a single factor that's going to affect lots of our budget, for example, the prevailing wage or whatever it's called at the state level. Maybe I'm wrong, but I assume that's going to affect more than just this contract. We should have that contingency item in the public works and other budgets, other departmental budgets, as one of several contingency factors that's in there, so that if we approve any particular contract, we know that if these externalities take place and the costs increase, we've already done an estimate that takes care of that. So that's really all that I'm saying, and it seems to me that it's just inefficient for us to do this on a contract by contract basis. Maybe that's not.
You have any comment, or do you want to summarize anything, or?
Message received.
Great, thank you. With that, the motion. Thank you, Councilmember Spriggs. I entertain a motion to adopt Resolution number 2015-7569, authorization to renew the partnerships with industry PWI Group Services Agreement for fiscal year 2015-2016. Motion. Oh, thank you. Resolution 2015-7596. Thank you. Okay. Please vote.
We need a second.
Wait,
Who?
we have to do the motion again?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion carried by the following votes. Ayes, Dedina, Bragg, Patton. Noes, Spriggs, absent, Bilbray.
Okay, so now we move on to items number 5. The budget items 5.3 and 5.4. We're going to, just to make sure we're all clear, that we're going to have the discussion staff report on that together, and then we will entertain a motion to support each item separately. So starting with item number 5.3, Resolution 2015-7592 of the City Council of the City of Imperial Beach, California, adopting the budgets for the fiscal years 2015-16 and 2016-17, and electing the population and price adjustment factors and establishing fiscal year 2015-2016 appropriations limits of the City of Imperial Beach pursuant to the California Constitution, Article 13B and Section 7900 ET SEQ of the California Government Code. And then item number 5.4, Resolution 2015-7593 of the City Council of the City of Imperial Beach, California, amending the budget for the fiscal years 2014-15, electing the population and price adjustment factors, and establishing fiscal year 2014-15 appropriations limit of the City of Imperial Beach pursuant to California Constitution Article 13B and Section 7900 ET-SEQ of the California Government Code. So, Administrative Services Director Badley will give a presentation on the item.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. As the Mayor mentioned, these are two items. The first item we'll be talking about fiscal year 16 and 17, which we have been in the recent past. The second item will backtrack and be talking about fiscal year 15. So staff is recommending that the City Council adopt the resolution and ratifying the proposed budget, making that our adopted fiscal year 16, 17, and 17 budgets, as well as establishing our 2016 appropriations limit according to the GAN limit calculation. Just to back up for those in the audience, and as Council knows, that this is actually our fourth public hearing with regards to the fiscal year 16-17 budget. We had an open house where invited the local residents to come meet the staff and council and talk about the needs. Excuse me. And then we had a workshop where we went to very detailed levels of the budget. Followed that a week later with another council meeting, and then I'm here tonight, and I promise I'll stop bothering you after tonight. And this is really the one-page summary of our budget. You know, if I want to give you an overview of where we're at for these next two fiscal years, this really summarizes how the budget has come together. And the bottom, I always go right to the bottom. It talks about the general fund, and we have our expenditures on the left and our revenues on the right. And a real important item to note here is that our revenues match our expenditures. So this is a fiscally sound budget. On the top, we talk about our citywide expenses on the left. These are operating expenses, and then on the right is our capital. So another nicety about the city's budget is we're expending these capital, or we're undergoing these capital projects for the needs of the city. We're using savings and reserves. We're not drawing down completely on our reserves, so we'll still have a nice balance after this 2-year cycle. And we're also using a large amount of grant revenue. There's also grants that we have not programmed in here that we still think we have a shot at, but because we don't have the certainty yet, we're gonna wait and see, and we'll come back to you on those. So a very fiscally sound budget. And rather than going into any more detail, I could open it up to questions from the City Council if they would like to discuss more detail like we have in the past, and or if there's anyone in the community that has any questions.
Before that, do we have any public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Bradley. And then, any comments? I don't have any oh. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley, and thank you for that overview. I think you've basically said the conclusion that we all wanted to hear, which is that we're not having to delve into reserves to pay our operating expenses. The city's in good financial shape in that regard, even though the expenditure and revenue are pretty well equal in terms of our operating budget. So I congratulate you on the report and on you and the city staff in running a tight ship. I would just have one general question to ask of you, and it may require a little bit of analysis looking forward. You've said in the past that we're in a very tight cash flow situation these next over this budget period to FY16 and FY17, and that we anticipate being in a better position because we'll have additional tax revenues coming in with new businesses, new hotels, et cetera, et cetera. And so my question to you is, what if we go into an economic downturn sometime, say, 2 years to 3 years out? This is not totally speculative because our economic cycles in the state and in the country pretty much predict that somewhere within the next 2 to 4 years that could very well happen, if the past is any prologue. So what would you say about the condition of our cash flow situation should that be the case, more or less as it has been in the past?
Yeah, I'm going to address that on two sides, the revenue side and the expense side. I'm going to start on the expense. And, our city's makeup is we have a public safety contract with the sheriff, and then we have a pool of employees. If you look at those combined, that's where the bulk of our expenditures are within the general fund. And so I would look at the details of those in terms of a go forward if we were having an economic situation as to what would be driving those to go up, right? And if I look at where we're at right now, the things that have driven those items up, particularly in our labor side or our employee side, is the CalPERS issue. Okay, over the next 5 years, I'm seeing this ramp up, and then it's going to level off. We have some thoughts and some strategies about how to address that on different ways, rather than just through the operating revenue side. So assuming we hit some hiccup, perhaps we could employ one of those other strategies. But if we can get through this first couple of years and then it levels off, then I think our employee costs on an annual basis will be pretty stable. And there are things we can control there. Nothing extraordinary that I would expect. On the sheriff contract side, if we did hit a situation where there was economic downturn, that would require us to negotiate or talk to the county, right? And if they come to us and say, well, here's your 3% increase, we'd say, oh, whoa, let's talk. And the public safety director, Tom Clark, has many times looked at the makeup of that contract, and we can reformulate that and effectuate a lower cost to us. So those are the big areas on the expense side that I really believe we would have an opportunity to address, short of any drastic changes in employee levels. That would be lower down on the list of items we could address. On the revenue side, we have this mix of various revenues where a lot of it is tax based, and then we have some transient occupancy tax, which is more kind of retail based sales tax. And so it's becoming a better mix so that when there is a downturn, it may not affect both sides of those equations. And so I'm looking forward over the next couple of years to increase that mix, particularly on the retail side of TOT and sales tax. That'll make us a little more solid. When you think about property tax, a lot of that revenue, we're at this ceiling. It gets real complicated, and then I'm missing Mr. Wade right now, but it gets real complicated. But there is a ceiling, and then values are above that, and everything kind of above that goes through the successor agency, And so we're up here right now, and so it would take quite a dip to get down to where then it would start affecting our general fund. So I'm pretty confident about that. And then the port revenues are also pretty solid. So there are things we can do to effectuate reduction in costs going forward, and there would just have to be things we'd discuss.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to just thank you, the entire city staff, for, I think, the most transparent, best, really most open budgeting process in the history of Imperial Beach. And more importantly, that really came from this council. So thank you guys very much for really pushing for that. I appreciate it. I've said this before, the open house was brilliant. It was a great model, and I think that's something we need to do in the future. It was great to see the staff and our council interacting with the public in a really open way. Again, we had positive media coverage of a really boring budget process, right? Like lauding Imperial Beach for a really open process. So that's good. And number two, what this really shows is we really do run a tight ship. There's not a lot of fat here. But that means that the better our story about all the great work that we're doing with our community, with our business community, with our military, and the more concrete changes that we show that actually make a difference in improving the quality of life in our city, the more funding that we can get from agencies, because everyone loves a great story. The more that we engage elected officials like Supervisor Cox and Assembly Speaker Tony Atkins and all the rest of our multi-layered levels of agencies and elected officials from SANDAG to Caltrans, and more importantly, the private sector and going after aggressively, and foundations aggressively going after fundraising, the more money we'll bring in. And the more we leverage the community side as well, the more we'll be able to leverage things and not have it incur staff costs. So I think we're in a really, really good position. Our property values are raising. We've got these great projects online. And more importantly, my council has, and the city staff have wisely decided not to significantly increase our budget and keep things stuck. So I think we're in a really great position, and I'm really excited about, I'm really bullish on what's happening. And I think that we're going to be really in a great position. So thank you for that. So with that, I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-7592, ratifying the proposed budget for fiscal years 2016 and 2017, and electing the population and price adjustment factors establishing fiscal year 2016 appropriation limits of the city of Imperial Beach. Please vote. Great. And now number 5.4, I would like to entertain a motion. I'm sorry, I need to move forward.
Motion carried unanimously.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if you would, could we have a more full explanation of item 5.4?
Sure.
Yeah, this is a similar topic, but now we're going to talk about 2015, and this is a little different for the city of Imperial Beach. Actually, a little different for me, but the auditors have recommended that I come back to you at the end of the fiscal year and do something of a reconciliation. So you adopted a budget back in 2013 for this fiscal year. Over the course of this fiscal year, there were several resolutions that you adopted amending the budget. And so we end up with a total or final budget. And so what the auditors have recommended to me for transparency and to complete a nice audit trail is to come back to you and have a single resolution that combines all those resolutions. And then that way when they do audit, and one thing they do look at is your beginning budget and your ending budget. They have one source document that can say, all right, these are all the adjustments you made throughout the year. And it becomes just a simple audit tool for them. Just real quickly though, here's a summary of that long list you have in your staff report. And so this is something I just put together, and I apologize I don't have it in the staff report, but it kind of visualizes more what's going on. And if you look at where the adjustments were or resolutions were throughout, kind of have to be a little bit careful because this is accounting going on here too. So let me give you one example. If you look at successor agency, 4.6 million, those were the bond debt service payments, okay? But the debt service payments were around 2 million. But what happens is because of accountants, we split up the successor agency fund and the debt service for successor agency. And so I have to bring in the money in the successor agency, transfer it over to the debt service fund, and then pay Wells Fargo. Well, that double counts in terms of a budget adjustment. So it appears a lot more in this schedule than it really is. It's more of an accounting situation. The same is true with the 2010 bond fund. So you see some big numbers there, but a lot of it is just accounting, double counting. And then within your staff report, you see the details of all the various resolutions that make up these adjustments. And once again, this is just a resolution to consolidate all that into one auditable trail.
So Mike, if I may ask, so my question is this unusual to have had these kinds of budget amendments? What's likely to be the case in the next two budget cycles? And did we do something wrong by way of process to have the auditors ask that we do this consolidation, just to get it out in the public about what this audit requested reconciliation or consolidation is all about?
Oh, great catch on that. No, we haven't done anything wrong, but it stood out to me a little bit. You know, I had this whole laundry list of resolutions, and so I wanted to have a complete, clear audit trail. If you look at this schedule I have on the chart, about 39 million versus the 26 we adopted, 26 is a low budget for this city. Remember this chart here. If you add the citywide expenses in the top left plus our capital, it's more like 40 million. And so you go back here, and so what had happened was when this budget was adopted in 2013, they didn't include the successor agency ROPS, the payment of the debt service. It just wasn't included, which is fine, but what happens is you got to come back later and do an adjustment, right? And so this year, though, it's included. So no, I am not expecting to have this volume when I come back to you in a year from now. I would like to come back to you in a year from now, and maybe I won't have to if there are so much fewer adjustments, but we'll take a look at that. The other is on like the 2-year CIP. It's already in the budget. What we expect over the next 2 years is already in your next 2-year budgets that you just adopted. So no, I wouldn't expect to see that either, either 2010 months. So, and the grants. So, a lot of this just won't happen next time, and then maybe this is just a little bit of a cleanup cycle, and we won't even have to do this again next year.
Great. Okay. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-7593, amending the adopted budget for fiscal year 2014-15 and electing the population and price adjustment factors, establishing the fiscal year 2014-15 appropriations limit of the city of Imperial Beach. Is there a second? Okay. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Okay. Last item of the evening, 5.5, consideration of resolution number 2015-7602, authorizing the acceptance of Caltrans relinquishment of a portion of State Route 75 to further facilitate the realignment of the Palm Avenue State Route SR 75 intersection and right-of-way adjacent to the proposed breakwater project. And Administrative Services Director Bradley will give a presentation on the item. Oh, I'm sorry, Tyler Fultz, sorry. Looking. Okay. Thank you, Tyler.
Mayor, members of the council. The recommendation from staff is to adopt the resolution to authorize the acceptance of the Caltrans relinquishment for a portion of State Route 75 to allow for the realignment of Palm Avenue State Route 75 intersection and the right-of-way adjacent to the proposed breakwater project. The rationale is that this would facilitate the approval of the encroachment permit from Caltrans and to implement the construction of this Palm Avenue South, State Route 75 right-of-way. For some history on this relinquishment, in 2009, the Palm Avenue Commercial Corridor Master Plan recommended the realignment of this intersection. It was called the Park Sector. This would include pedestrian safety, walkability, improvement in the functionality of this area. In 2011, the Breakwater project was approved by the City Council, and that included a design for the Park Sector. But in order to implement this Park Sector, we needed a relinquishment from Caltrans to be able to do what the city had a concept for the Park Sector. So back in 2010, the first relinquishment took place, and that was approved by the City Council, initiated by the City Council, and approved by the City Council. And I'll show you an image showing that. This tonight is the second relinquishment that more or less finishes the process for a small segment of this relinquishment. The Caltrans encroachment permit is more or less ready. There's still some processing to do for the Sudbury applicant, but it's nearing completion, which is why Caltrans has stated the city needs to accept this relinquishment in order to move forward for issuance of the encroachment permit. And this is just an image showing the partial relinquishment that we're discussing tonight. The section to the left of it is what's already been relinquished to the city, and I'll show you another image. So this yellow portion has already been relinquished to the city. And the reason this was already relinquished in 2010 is because it had existing transportation facilities on it. If there's an existing transportation facility, the Caltrans was able to process the relinquishment, which is what they did. So that one's already been provided to the city. This section in red did not have any existing facilities per the determination of Caltrans, and therefore they could not process that for a relinquishment because there was no facility to relinquish. They would have had to have considered it vacant land and sold it at fair market value. So that's why this section was not included in the original relinquishment originally. This is essentially why the relinquishment is needed. It's to realign that park sector that we were talking about. Again, the existing condition, there's a throughfare on Palm Avenue, and the vision of the community was to get rid of this and reconfigure it in a better way that's more comprehensive when you're driving. So that's why, as part of the breakwater project, they're proposing a drainage basin, a turn aisle that would go to the Highway 75 intersection on Palm Avenue, access the site, etc., and not only provide landscaping, but sidewalks, and also continue all the way down through 9th. So the relinquishment tonight is just for this red portion that has not yet been relinquished, but can, because now there's an encroachment permit that's ready to be issued. So there will be a facility that's constructed, therefore they can relinquish it to the city. Now there was a last minute agenda item. Caltrans requested that we remove a section from the resolution stating that the city more or less could retract the acceptance of the relinquishment. The reason they asked for us to remove that is, again, if the city does not want the relinquishment, they cannot issue the encroachment permit and therefore their relinquishment. It's going to stay as vacant land because this facility would not be built to their standards. It's built to the standards for this project and that the city desires. So that's why the city has to accept a relinquishment in order to be able to construct these improvements. The options is to, in addition to receiving the report and adopting the resolution, is to take no action and request additional information at a future meeting, or to deny the adoption of the resolution. That concludes my report.
Great, thank you. We have public comment. Ed Kravitz, did you want to speak or just want to have this in the public record? Okay, well, I just want to make sure that, so I'll read this and then, okay. Mr. Kravitz opposes 5.5 and discussed some of the issues on his previous statement. Good, okay. Councilmember Spriggs, thank you.
Thank you very much for the report. We've already had relinquishment of the lion's share of the SR-75 that is involved in the breakwater project. So this is really very little compared to that. I just had kind of a technical question to get our city attorney involved in tonight's meeting a little bit more. Just kidding. And that is whether you've had a chance to look at these changes that Caltrans has requested, and whether they are all right for us to approve.
Yes, I reviewed them, and they're fine.
With no further questions, thank you very much for that presentation. And I just want to make sure I'm going to read the revised resolution that you gave, right? Is that right, to adopt?
It's the same number, but with the modifications in the last minute.
Okay. Right, so the actual reading is the same.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. I would like to entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 2015-7602, authorizing the acceptance of Caltrans relinquishment of a portion of State Route 75 to further facilitate the realignment of the Palm Avenue State Route SR-75 intersection and right-of-way adjacent to the proposed breakwater project, in recognition of the revised resolution that was submitted at the last minute. Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Tyler.
Yeah. I had to do a lot of research on that one.
Did you?